Welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thanks for tuning in. And it is the 26th of March, 2022. We're live here at Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130, every weekend for the Minnesota Real Estate Show, which is hosted by Mike Overson of Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wolmering of the We Team with RE/MAX Advantage Plus, and I'm Ryan O'Neill with the Minnesota Real Estate Team, RE/MAX Advantage Plus. I hope your weekend is starting out well, whether you're catching us Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. We're happy you are joining us today. We got a fun show. We're here from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for your questions, comments, thoughts. I've got Steve Groen joining us today from Standard Water. Awesome guy, always a ton of great content. And Scott, it should be a fun show today. We got a lot to talk about with the market going on. And good morning.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for everybody tuning in. Like Ryan said, this is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We're going to be here for an hour. Love your comments and questions during the show. 612-294-6949 is how you can go live on air, or you can text us your question to that number, or you can just go ahead and write in on Facebook, and we'll handle your questions as they come in. Yeah, it's a crazy market, and it's about to get crazier. We're officially now in the spring market. Our spring market really was more like February this year, but it is nutty times out there, and we're going to cover kind of what that means during the show.
Yeah, lots of good stuff coming. Questions, comments, thoughts. Don't hesitate to join us. We always love any thoughts you have, questions about the market, comments. Please don't hesitate to chime in anytime throughout the show. You can also call live into the show at 612-294-6949. You can call that number or text that number. And it will be actually a very interesting show because there's some things changing with the market that are a little bit different than the last few months of what we've been talking about. Steve Groen, good morning. Good morning. Good to see you there, bud.
You too. Glad to be here. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we're going live on air right now. Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130. Thanks again for tuning in. Hope your weekend's going well. Good morning. Welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show, and thanks for tuning in, everybody. Saturday, the 26th of March, and we're live here at Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130, every Saturday morning for the Minnesota Real Estate Show, hosted by Mike Overson of Home Loans, Scott Wolmering of the We Team, RE/MAX Advantage Plus, and I'm Ryan O'Neill with the Minnesota Real Estate Team, RE/MAX Advantage Plus. Scott, top of the morning to you. Good to see you there, young man.
You too. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like Ryan said, if this is the first time you're catching the show, welcome. If you're a return visitor, welcome back. And if you've not gone to our website before, you can check that out. It's mnrealestateshow.com. Tells you everything about the team, how we work. If you are thinking about buying or selling in this market, we'd love to help you. You can fill out the online market analysis, and an expert agent on the team that kind of specializes in your area will do a full analysis for you, tell you what it's worth. Love you to join the discussion anytime. 612-294-6949. You can call us at that number, go live on air, or you can text us at that number, and we will handle your questions. If you're following us on Facebook Live, if there's anything you want us to cover, please go ahead and type that in, and we'll make sure we do.
Yeah, we thought we'd start something new over the past month, so we are live as well on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. You can see Mr. Wolmering live in action from about any social media platform. But we do welcome your questions, comments, thoughts at any time throughout the show, talking about the market, talking about interest rates. A lot of interesting things going on this week that we're going to dive into. And Scott, as we start and as we kind of get into the content and the discussion, the big word that I was kind of thinking about as I was looking at and reading a lot of the different reports and analysis that have come out is the word perspective. On the one hand, I saw a report this week, Barbara Corcoran, who's kind of a big real estate guru, national guru, She came,
She's never been on this show. She's not that big.
right?
Yeah.
She came out this week and says why 3 reasons why this is the best real estate market she's seen in her entire lifetime. 3 reasons. Okay, so on the one hand, I'm reading this article, and then the next article I read comes out that basically it's like the storm clouds are coming in, and the thunderstorm and the rain is starting, and the outlook looks horrible for the real estate market. 2 separate articles, and they were talking about, which again, we're going to talk about rising interest rates, no inventory, no, we were talking about getting workers to build homes, inflation. So we'll dive into that, but a lot of it is perspective.
It is. Well, and I would, it is perspective in the sense that it is definitely the fastest moving real estate market that I've ever seen. I've been doing this 23 years. Never seen anything like it. I was telling Steve, I had a listing I put on. We had 126 showings and 31 offers. And that was in a 2-day time period. So, it looked like a graduation party at the house because there were so many people in there. And, and
who graduated?
And it's funny, some of the
I didn't know they had any kids.
Well, that's the thing. Some of the feedback I got from agents that were so upset because there were kids running around the house. And, what are you going to do? To get everybody in, you got to let everybody get in. And that is, so it's definitely fast. It's also one of the most frustrating markets that most agents will agree with me that we've ever run into, especially from the buyer side. Trying to get somebody a house is, it's not the old days where, hey, you go out, you show the house, you set up a second showing, you go in, you negotiate terms, and now it's like, you just call the agent, when's highest and best? Oh, it's Monday at 7:00. Or how many offers do you have? Well, I got 42.
Right.
Okay, great. We'll throw our hat in the ring.
Yeah, it is perspective, a little bit from a perspective standpoint. When we talked about interest rates, for the last few years, comparatively, Scott, they're the highest that they have been, mid to high 4s, on a conventional 30-year fixed, 15-year low 4s, 4.25, conventional 3% down, near 5%. And so again, part of it is perspective. On the one hand, it is significantly higher than where they've been the last couple of years, but also still historically very low. But at what point do the rising rates affect what people can afford? And where people say, my gosh, we're this one sold 25,000 over the asking price. We can't afford this price range anymore. So there's so much buyer demand. When does it affect the buyer demand?
It's such a hard question because, at some point it has to have some effect. But like we've talked about on the show numerous times, people have to live somewhere. And, the only thing that's more aggressive than the residential real estate market is the rental market. And so, when you're looking at, $2,300 for a 2-story home, or you're looking at $2,300 for a 1,000 square foot apartment, at some point you gotta live somewhere. So I'm not sure how much of an effect it's going to have. It's definitely not going to have an effect in the short term.
Yeah.
But if we keep moving at 10-12% appreciation for things under 500,000, at some point it's going to squeeze the entry level buyer out of it.
Yeah, here was one of those articles, guys, that I saw this week. That it started out, it said, in a grim sign for the housing market's busiest season, pending home sales, so this is nationally, fell 4.1% in February compared with January. So pending home sales fell 4.1% compared to January. And then sales were down 5.4% compared to February of last year. And they were saying that analysts were expecting a slight gain. They were expecting more of a gain. And this is the 4th month in a row that pending sales, Scott, have declined. If we look at locally, here are the local numbers. New listings down 10%. So 10% less homes for sale, 1,313. Pending sales down 6.5%, 1,174. Inventory down 14%, 4,671. When there's no or less homes to buy, pending sales are going to go
Well,
down.
that's why I don't understand that analysis that
It's grim.
that they expected it for it to be more. I mean, I think last year at this time we had 6,800 homes or something on the market. So,
Yeah.
if you're 2,000 less homes than that, and again, if you dive deeper into that, when you actually eliminate to be builts, which is a classification that new construction lists, which a lot of times means there's no house. It's just a lot, and they'll have a rendering of a home that is to be built. If you actually remove all of the new construction that really does not even exist, our inventory levels are, they're at 2,800 or 2,900, something like that.
Yeah.
So, there's nothing out there. So yeah, pending sales are going to be down. Overall volume is going to be down. There's just not as many homes to sell.
Yeah, it is. If a potential home seller out there thinking about the process, maybe of selling your home, remember again that in Minnesota, they came out with a new form that gives, basically makes the home sale contingent on you finding a home of your choice. So one of the fears, Scott, is people put their home on the market and then, hey, you get an offer, but where are we going to move to? Well, now there's a way that they can say, look, we'll take your offer, but we're not going to move until we find a home. So that at least gives people a little bit of confidence that they can put something on the market and not be homeless with that. And so that's new. Again, that's new probably within the past year in the state of Minnesota with the Realtor Association forums. What do you think about that, Steve?
Well, my mind kind of went in a little bit different place. You talk about inventory here, right? And what affects inventory. And I wonder psychologically, fear of loss is important. That affects many things in a livestock market or whatever. But I wonder how many people are thinking about selling their home. They're seeing everything go up. And now with their interest rates are going up, maybe they think, okay, I'm not going to be able to sell it as high as I thought, but I might lose. So maybe I need to sell. I wonder if you'll see a little influx from people that buy on the fence and they have a fear of loss. So
100% correct. Every time interest rates jump up, the market jumps because people have been kind of sitting on the fence. Now all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, is it going to go to 6%? Is it going to go to 7%? I can still get upper fours. I better get out there and get it done. It is an interesting human nature thing because you would think, when rates are at 2.5%, everybody in the world would jump in. But you're always like, I think they might go down a little bit more. I think they might go down a little bit more. So yeah, when rates go up, it always booms.
Yeah, it is a good thoughts, good commentary. We welcome your discussion at any point too. You're welcome to join us, 612-294-6949. Appreciate folks joining us on social media, wherever you might be catching us, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are trying to spread the word a little bit, provide some good information, content to help you as buyers and sellers, real estate investors make good decisions in this market. And again, we welcome your questions, comments, thoughts, 612-294-6949. We're already up against the first break here, but don't hesitate to join us. We love your questions. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Steve, it's a good point, a good thought about kind of the fear of loss. One thing I'm noticing with a lot of sellers, Scott, maybe not a lot, but some sellers, is still overpricing.
mm-hmm.
Where maybe they are listing for sale by owner, or maybe they're listing with someone that's just willing to take the listing at a super high price. Scott just talked about his one listing where he got all this activity. Well, again, Scott knows the business. He priced the property correctly. And as such, buyers who know the market reacted to it. We're seeing some sellers throw that super high, and then it gets a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month.
Then you're dead. In this market, if you are on the market and you're under 500 grand and you're on the market for a week,
yeah,
you got a major problem because again, Steve's point on human nature. Anybody that's out there, for example, this listing I put on had 1,175 saved searches. That means that there was 1,175 buyers that had saved that criteria. So that is just a bucket load of people looking for it.
Yeah.
And so the buyers out there, they know man, this is going to go in the first 2 days. You get a call, when's highest and best? They don't ask if you have any offers. They know you're going to have offers.
Right.
So if you overprice your house and you're sitting on the market for a week, human nature is all of a sudden now people are like, what's wrong with this? Is it just price, or is there something I'm missing? And it really hurts your net number for a seller. If you try to get aggressive in this market, take the advice from the banks back in 2008. They always priced it 2-3% less than what it was worth.
Yeah.
Because they know that people are competitive at nature, and you're going to end up with more money when people bid on it.
Yeah, it is hard. It's hard to, again, when reading some of these reports coming out saying this is the best market they've seen in their lifetime. It definitely can be for sellers, but part of it is, remember, from a pricing standpoint, pricing it correctly. In a lot of situations, Scott, there are cash offers. So buyers actually who have cash who are buying, but in a lot of cases too, there are financed offers. With a financed offer, there is still a home appraisal. So you got to find other similar properties that's to yours. So that's where you may think it's worth 50 grand more, but the appraiser's got to think that too.
That's right. That's right. Well, and there's a lot of things that are happening in this market that I've never seen before. Appraisal gap coverage. That wasn't even a term.
Right.
It wasn't even a term a year and a half ago. And now almost
Maybe explain that.
Yeah. So every offer that you're getting, for the most part, when there's multiple offers, people are putting in some kind of an appraisal gap coverage. So either 100%, meaning if the property appraises at whatever, we're going to make up the difference. Or a lot of times people that don't have that much cash will put a number in. So an appraisal gap of $10,000.
Yeah.
So if the appraisal comes in low, we'll cover $10,000 of the gap.
Yeah. Here we go. We're going back live on air. Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130 every Saturday, the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hey, Mike Dubs. Good morning to you there, young man. Walk this way, Mike. Mike's playing a little music. Hey, he's a good man. He comes in here on a Saturday morning when most of iHeart is, of course, quieter. Comes in every Saturday, helps us produce the show. Grateful for you, Mike. Thanks for taking the time always for us to let us chat real estate, and we are appreciative of your good work as always. And Scott, Steve Groan with Standard Water here. We're having a discussion, all things real estate related, mortgage related. 612-294-6949 is how you can join us. Scott, we were talking off air a little bit about overpricing by sellers, listings sitting on the market. It's an interesting time in the Minnesota real estate market.
It is. It's a time where you really do need to trust your agent. So I've always said before, if you're second guessing what your agent says, move on to a different agent, because in this market, the example of the home that I just had, 126 showings and 31 offers, et cetera. We took a listing price that the seller actually wasn't necessarily on board with. They wanted to be a little bit higher. He wanted to be 25 grand higher. Well, we ended up getting $75,000 over list price on it. And so getting at a search criteria number is more important than trying to steal that extra 10 grand. You will end up with less money every single time, because in this market, we were talking off air, a week on the market, if you're under 500 grand, it might as well be a lifetime. People are going to start questioning why the home isn't sold, because they all sell.
Yeah, I want to welcome our friend Steve Groan on air. Steve is a partner with the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Wonderful guy, outstanding company. The company is called Standard Water Control Systems. Steve and Standard Water do a lot of great things: basement waterproofing, egress windows, radon mitigation. I know it's springtime, Steve, when my phone starts ringing from agents who will say, hey, my buyer just closed on a home. They moved into it. They've now got 2 inches of water in the basement of the spring with the melt. Help. And you were just saying before the show how busy you are.
Yeah, the last 3 weeks have been crazy. This is a normal spring. We have a melt. Water is entering the homes. The rains come down. It's been a crazy 3 weeks. So if we went back a month and a half ago, my guys are working 4-day work weeks. Essentially, it's their slow time. And now I need to hire 5, 6, absolutely buried booking out, but it's normal. That's what happens. I'm on the phone and emailing realtors and buyers and sellers literally every day regarding radon and egress and waterproofing. Radon probably is a more common topic because they don't know what it costs. Should I do anything? Do I have to? Buyers and sellers have different needs, but certainly our business intersects with the real estate market. So.
What do you think, guys? What percent of Minnesota homes have had water in the basement with basements? You know what I mean? I'm just thinking about how common an issue it is. When I was talking to this agent yesterday, agent on the team who is naturally very upset for themselves and their buyer. You know, I grew up again in a very nice home, but down in New Prague, but it's a Rambler, basic kind of 50s Rambler. We had water in the basement. It just kind of almost expected, you know what I mean? Okay, let's grab the shop vac. Let's head down there. Until we had, I don't know if it was standard. Hopefully it was, that came out and did the good work and put the drain tile in. But it just seems like it's just so common,
Yeah, so a couple interesting things on water. If you grab a basketball, jump in a swimming pool and try to take the basketball down 10 feet, you're not getting more than 3 feet, right? Or 2 feet. Now imagine a whole house that sits inside that swimming pool and water sitting around and pressuring the outside. And all it's got to find is one itty bitty tiny crack, and here comes the water. So as it gets wetter, it's more of an issue.
You ever seen Scott jump in a pool with a basketball?
Oh, I take that thing deep. I take it. It's one of the tricks I do. I can take that thing right.
Unbelievable. He learned it up in Bemidji.
It's a big thing.
Yeah.
Is it true you can do backflips?
Oh yes, absolutely.
But it is a good point when you think about it. And that's why. And I'm certainly not minimizing anybody who's had water in the basement. It's super frustrating. I get it, but it's just so common here in the Minnesota market. It's just every year, literally springtime, my phone will ring from about 4 different agents on the team where, hey, we've got water. What's going on?
I remember when I first got in the business, one of the first things I learned was hydrostatic pressure.
Yeah.
Which is water being pushed up either through the floor or through the walls, and getting a wet basement.
Yeah.
And another interesting aspect is cement wicks water just like a sponge. If you take cement and put it in water, you'll watch it wick up. So if there's water on the outside and the outside's not protected in one way, it's going to come in, you'll feel it. Or you see that efflorescence, that white flaky stuff at the bottom.
Yeah.
Some sort of moisture has come through.
What, kind of in simplest terms, drain tile, how spendy, how hard is it to do, to put in a home? Help me understand.
It is very hard to do. It's very laborious, but that's what we do, of course. From a cost standpoint, rough numbers, you're at 100 plus feet, round numbers, $74 a foot is what you're looking at. We do it. It's a 2-day process. We have a small army of guys in trucks who come in with jackhammers, HEPA filtration.
A small army.
Yeah, it's a small army. And then we jackhammer up the cement by the wall in the basement and remove it. And then a bunch of the dirt below. And then we have to put in drain tile itself, a 3-inch hard PVC next to the footing, and put a vapor barrier on and cement, and we connect all that to a sump pump basin. And that's, some people say, well, do I have drain tile? Well, question number one is, do you have a sump pump basin? And sometimes you'll look at it and there won't be a sump pump. That's good for 2 reasons. Number one is, it has drain tile probably. And number 2, you probably don't have water, because if you did, there'd be a sump pump in there. So that would be a good thing.
As homeowners, though, that is one thing, again, especially if you're maybe a first-time home buyer or you've moved into your home, maybe you are not super kind of handy and familiar with a lot of things with the home. It's one of the reasons why a very good home inspector like Steve Staylock will explain a lot of the things. But I think there's people that buy homes that, again, don't even know, hey, where's my sump pump?
Yeah.
How does the thing work?
That's right.
And it's such an important thing. That's one thing that as a homeowner to really understand with water in the basement.
Well, and I'll tell you what, we've all had buyers that have had the experience of having their sump pump fail.
Yeah.
And they're some of the toughest because as soon as they go in the house, first thing they do is go to the basement to that sump basin. And if there's any water in it, they're like, I'm out.
Right.
And I'm like, well, that's what a sump pump's for. And he's like, yeah, well, I had one before and it failed, and I had 2 feet of water in my basement.
So one thing, if you're a homeowner or a future homeowner and you wonder how your sump pump works, or is it operating, or do I need to replace it or get a backup, we do system checks, and we run probably 10 a day or more, and we go out and evaluate the sump pump. Is it operating correctly? We'll clean stuff out, look through everything, and make sure the discharge line isn't blocked and everything's set for the year. Because the last thing you want is problems when you have serious water to remove.
Yeah, one cool thing, I was again talking to an agent on the Minnesota real estate team yesterday about this water issue, and again, Standard Water. They've been around forever, a very long time, reputable company. You came out and bid it wasn't you personally, in like 2013 or 14 or something. Your company came out, did the bid. The homeowner at the time, it sounds like, didn't. I don't think they did the work. But just an example of, again, why you're a partner with us. You guys have been around a really long time. People know you. You're trusted. You've just got a great group of guys and gals working with your team.
Thank you. You know, one thing it is interesting, the buying cycle is very slow for some people, many years, plural years. And we get calls last week, hey, update our bid from 2013. So we don't go out to the home, we just pull it out of our database. We have pictures and everything, and we reprice it, send it out, and away we go. But so if the problem goes away, water goes away, people think, I'll just wait, right?
Right.
And now they waited long enough because they have water and calls.
So is there any basement that you cannot waterproof, or waterproofing is not the great term, but where you actually cannot get it to a point where there's no water in it? The only reason I ask is one of the first homes I sold back in like 1999, the seller had redone the basement, so new sheetrock, new everything, new carpet. Well, as soon as spring hit, we had 2 feet of water in the basement. And so when you pulled the sheetrock down, there were gaps in the block by, an inch. So, I mean, there's no way in the world water's not going to come in. In a situation like that, what are you able to do there?
Good question. That is an unfortunate situation. It wasn't waterproof properly. Now they have water. But the short answer is we can do most anything. It just requires a checkbook and us doing a lot of work. One common thing we'll do is an exterior foundation repair. If there's just one crack coming in, and we will dig down to the footing. We'll put tar and membrane and combat and different stuff to prevent it coming in from that area.
Mm-hmm.
But on the inside of the home, you're still going to have moisture. So we're probably going to need to rip out the sheetrock. And in a crack, if we don't dig in the outside, that we call it stitches, but we basically prevent that crack from enlarging. And then we seal it with epoxy or foam, depending on water's coming through, and we prevent it from coming through. And then after that, we will put another water barrier over the interior of the home. So if water does get through that crack or moisture, it's going to get down to the drain tile on the inside of the home. We'll run it over to the basin and pump it out of the house. So the short answer is no problem.
I love as long as you have a checkbook. I had a builder I worked with that always would say, with enough of your money and enough of my time, we can do anything.
Hey, we're at the halfway point of the Minnesota Real Estate Show already. We appreciate you joining us, whether on the radio, AM 1130, or on social media. We're here every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Before the break, did want to give a shout out Ryan Beardsley with Remax Advantage Plus and the Minnesota Real Estate Team. Scott, he's got a new listing in Eden Prairie, 8810 Hawthorne Drive in Eden Prairie. It is coming soon, as of tomorrow, the 27th, and then it's going live on the market on the 31st at 12 noon. This home, he said, is turnkey. It's got gorgeous living spaces, a ton of updates throughout. It's got many built-ins, including quartz countertops, updated range, dishwasher, enamel cabinets, gas fireplace, walk-in closets, large master bath, separate tub and shower. Scott, there is a new roof and siding, all new carpet, lighting, furnace, much more. It's a really nice location. It steps away from a large neighborhood park, great schools over in Eden Prairie, of course, and convenient access to everything. Ryan says, run, don't walk. 8810 Hawthorne Drive in Eden Prairie for $340,000. Check that one out online. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Appreciate you joining us, everybody, here for the Minnesota Real Estate Show every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Welcome your questions, comments, thoughts at any point. Had a question from Diane. Diane, thanks for joining us. She said, for Steve, this is for you, Steve. What is an acceptable radon level in a home? Acceptable level radon levels.
Good question. So if you look at what the EPA suggests, it's 4.0. It's called picoliters. And if it's 4 or higher, that's a good number to mitigate. If it's below that, they say not necessary. But any level of radon isn't really healthy. Excuse me. So there's a variety of ways that we mitigate it. And that reading, it kind of depends on when that's taken. That should be an average. Some people get their electronic testers out, and it's not when it spikes. It's the average. So some people, in fact, I took a phone call this morning from a distraught future customer. They had a higher rating, and I said, hey, it's the average. And plus, they weren't in the basement anyway, so I can't talk them off the ledge. But
yeah, radon has become, obviously it's a very serious issue, again, with home sales, Scott. Normally what happens is that's through the inspection process. When there's a home inspection, that radon is being included.
When there's a home inspection.
And that's the thing. What's unusual about this market in 2022, again, is for many buyers, they're having to make it not contingent on a home inspection. So in other words, they're buying it without the ability to even determine, is the radon level okay? Is there a foundation issue like you talked about with a home? Are there different things? A lot of buyers right now are not afforded that chance, but that's the market.
It is the market. And it is, like I said, I've been doing this for 23 years. I could think on one hand, the homes I didn't have an inspection on, they were all new construction. And last year, not one of the homes we wrote on had an inspection. And, it's risky. We talked about it on the show a few weeks ago, it's a calculated risk. I mean,
Sure.
Through the years, thousands of homes sold, I can think of a handful that had something that cost more than $5,000.
Right.
So, it's relatively calculated, but it is scary for a homeowner to just walk in and not know anything. They don't know if there's mold. They don't know if there's again, foundation issues, structural issues. It's kind of a little bit of roll the dice.
Yeah, sorry, Steve.
I took a phone call from one of your realtors, emailed me pictures, and the foundation of the basement was just horrible. And it was another one of these no home inspection and all that. And, tens of thousands to fix.
Yeah.
So
well, that's a really good point. Some of the things that an agent should be able to do is, you can take a look at the foundation, and a typical rule of thumb is if you can put a pencil into a crack that's not coming down the mortar but coming down the middle of the block, that's a potential issue.
So if you see gaps, that's not good.
Yeah, gaps are not good. Gaps are not good. Or if you see new sheetrock,
Kind of like in the teeth.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's a common issue, Steve, and we're so happy to have you on board as a partner now, because at the end of the day, it's just so common. It's such a common issue. Kelly, thanks for your comment. Thanks for joining us. Getting a lot of nice comments here on some of the different social media channels, wherever you might be catching us. Thank you for watching the show. Any questions at all, don't hesitate to chime in. Again, we're talking to Steve Groen with Standard Water about all things water basement waterproofing, egress windows, radon. Scott talking about the market, interest rates rising. That'll be interesting. See what happens with that.
It is, because I actually. Are we
We're back on air. Here we go. We're going back live on air. Twin Cities News Talk. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome back to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hope your weekend is going well. March the 26th, almost the end of the first quarter. We did talk in the first segment here today. We talked a little bit about pending sales dropping nationally. I also saw an article that came out regarding home builders being a little bit unsure with the rising interest rates environment that we're seeing and with the building process and how much the homeowner, the buyer can afford. Excited to have our friend Mike Overson. Mike was able to call in here today, does an awesome job. And Mike, we talked a little bit about rates really rising significantly. What thoughts do you have here for us today? Thoughts or items to comment on? And good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Ryan and fellas. Yeah, when it comes to interest rates, I mean that the slides for higher rates continue this week. And so we ended the week, you're looking at 4.75 to 4.875 roughly for a 30-year fixed conventional loan, with top tier credit, and that's where they ended. I actually am just putting some numbers together for some other people yesterday. Credit scores were, in the high sixes. They were sitting at 5.125.
Wow.
So if you look at the beginning of the year, top tier credit, even with just 5% down conventional top tier credit, you're looking at like 3.25 roughly. Right on January 3rd, I think was that first Monday of the year. Today that same borrower's looking at 4.875 on a 30-year fix. So they've shot up early this year, definitely higher than everyone expected. I expected that we would maybe hit 4.5 to 4.75 for a peak. Obviously, we're over that here this year already. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the back in the summer, in the back half of the year. But one thing that's being talked about a lot now is what's going to happen later this year, early next year, as far as the recession goes. Because history will show us once we go into a recession that interest rates fall. As we go through the recession and things like that. So I'm almost thinking that everyone that buys a house this year is probably going to be refinancing that loan sometime in 2023. Because all signs, economy signs, economic signs right now are pushing forward that we're going to probably hit a recession later this year or early next year.
Which is kind of a double-edged sword because when we're in a recession, people don't have any money. So the fact that rates go down, it's like we're in a recession.
Right. Yeah. So it's one of those things that's just interesting how this all played out. Inflation is driving all this. Inflation is just such a beast right now. And we're going to see interest rates, kind of peel back a little bit once inflation gets more under control. And so, I said the same thing when COVID was around. I'm like, the only reason why we have rates, 30-year fixed rates that start with 2 is because COVID is here. As soon as COVID goes away, it becomes a non-factor. We don't hear about it in the news much anymore. That's when rates are going to go up. And here we are, first of the year. We just don't hear a whole lot about COVID anymore. It's still out there, but we just don't hear about it. And obviously rates are going up. So now what's going to happen is inflation. Once inflation, the news about inflation goes away and we have that under control and it looks like it's going to come down, that's when we're going to see interest rates come down. So most of my clients right now, I'm telling them, it is what it is, right? No one can control the rates. No one really can control, when the timing is right, when you find the right house, when the situation is right, because life happens and you got to react accordingly. But I do truly believe that there's probably going to be a mini refi boom sometime next year because I think rates will trickle down once we go into more recession type of economy. And then the other thing that's going to come up, and I know that Scott is going to love to hear this, is that there's people talking about doing ARMs again. And I literally locked my adjustable rate mortgage that has locked in like the last 5 years just earlier this week.
Yeah. So what is a 5.1 or 7.1 ARM? We literally haven't talked about them for years because they just haven't been in play.
they were, it was 30-year fixed, 30-year fixed, 30-year fixed. And then by the time they got out there with their home search, and then by the time they got an offer accepted, rates had gone up about a full percent. And so then they're like, okay, we're looking at 4.875 on the 30-year fixed. They wanted to see what a 7-1 or a 10-1 arm was. So the 7-1 arm was at 4 1/8, and the 10-year arm was at 4 1/4.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it is going to come back. And again, I've said it for a year. The average person stays in their house for what, 5 years, 6 years, and it's always amazed me that 99% of everybody does a 30-year fixed. When and obviously when it's at 2.5, of course that makes sense. But it starts creeping up around 5, 5.5, and you get a point off or a half point off. It's a big difference.
Yeah, and they were at a 5.58 loan amount, so their loan amount was big. And it was like, okay, 30-year at 4.875 or at 7-1 at 4 1/8, so 0.75% lower. And it made sense for them. And they, to be honest with it, they said the same thing that I'm saying is like, we're going to be we're going to stay in this house for 20 to 30 years, but we're going to be refinancing this thing before the 7 years is up because, they're seeing right down the wall as far as the recession's, likely to happen. And they feel that, 30-year fixed rates are going to come down and they'll refinance, at the right time in the future.
Yeah.
Mike, we appreciate you taking time to call in again. Mike Overson, Luminate Home Loans, one of the longtime hosts of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. I know you've got a full busy plate as well with not only work but family. Best way for people to connect with you, Mike, to reach out to you.
Yep. You can always go to my personal website, which is applywithmike.com. I made that super easy. Even Scott can remember that one. Or you can go to the radio show website, which is mnrealestateshow.com, and just click on the preferred partners tab, and you'll see me there on the mortgage tab.
Well, great job as always, bud. We hope you and your family have a good weekend. Thanks for all you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, fellas. I appreciate it. Have a good show.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mike Overson. That's an interesting thing he's talking about with the ARM product. Scott, about ARM and not getting locked in to the 30-year product.
I think right now it makes complete sense because I do agree with him. When we're going to hit a recession, things are going to settle back down again. And again, depending on what your loan amount is, what your financial situation is, 0.75 of a point's a lot of money. I mean, on that 5.58 loan, talking about $400 a month.
Yeah.
And so why wouldn't you do a 5-1 arm when all indications are rates are going to drop at some point in that 5 years? You can refinance out of it. But and for first-time home buyers that are already tight, heck, we've moved 1.5 points. That's a big jump in payment.
Yeah, if you're currently renting out there, maybe you're thinking about buying your first home. Two things I've been hearing a lot of is I'm going to wait until prices cool off. It's too competitive. I feel that again, the market is going to continue to stay very busy. The reason why in the Twin Cities, the rental market is super competitive. It's expensive. A lot of that are renting. Rents are rising. There's a lot of these national hedge funds and whatnot that are coming in, building all kinds of apartment complexes in the Twin Cities because of our strong employment base, because of people moving to the area. So again, to Scott's point, you got to live somewhere. And so that seems to be a common thought. Hey, I'm going to wait till things just cool down. The other thing is, wow, rates are high now. Again, it's partly, we started the show, we talked about perspective. It's about perspective, Scott. Again, they're still historically low. They're higher than where they were a year ago. Yeah, nobody's happy about that, but it's still kind of keeping things in the big picture.
Well, it is. And again, 2.5% interest rates is goofy. Nobody in the world thought that that's going to stick around for as long as it actually did, which was a long time.
Yeah.
But my gosh, I mean, under 5% is still incredible.
Yeah. Again, we're at the break, the quarter point of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thanks for tuning in. We're on social media too, and thanks for so many folks who have been watching throughout the show. LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, you name it. We are on there as well. We will be back after the break. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We do appreciate you watching. Steve Grown, Standard Water going on. I know you are also looking for folks, aren't you?
We are probably 5 or 6 guys in our trades with mechanical aptitude. We'll train them. But yeah, anyone, carpenters, guys willing to, I just bought a backhoe. If you can run a backhoe. Full-time work, day hours, Monday through Friday. OT, full benefits, healthcare, 401k, all that good stuff.
So as an employer, what are you finding with the current market as far as finding people with wages, that type of thing?
That's a good question. My daughter worked at Target, and they gave everyone in Woodbury, and they gave everyone, it was like $2, $3, $4 bump around Christmas time just to retain them. So it's very competitive out there, and I think part of it is too. I mean, people have choices. For us, we were so slow, a month and a half ago, and now we're buried. So it's hard to just flip that switch. Competitive, and everyone I talk to in the trades, people I know run similar companies, we're all kind of challenged with it. But it's not going away. It's kind of like houses.
Yeah. Yep, you're right. Steve and his team do an awesome job. I can't encourage, again, any fellow agents watching, fellow brokers, just a great resource to have, a trusted, longtime reputable company here in the Twin Cities as well. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out to Steve. Scott, we did have a question also that came in regarding earnest money. What is the average amount of earnest money you're seeing as a percent of the purchase price?
It's a great question. Forever, it was about 1%.
Yep.
So if it was a $350,000 house, $3,500 earnest money would be the standard. I'm not sure it's quite doubled, but I can say this, that whenever you're dealing with 10, 15, 20, 30 offers on a property, everybody looks at how to strengthen their offer as much as they possibly can. Earnest money is one of it. Making it non-refundable is on about 60% of the offers. And I would say it's pretty close to double. I mean, if it's a $500,000 house, 10 grand earnest money is probably what you're going to see as a standard.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and remember again, if you haven't bought a house in a while, that money, the earnest money, goes towards your down payment. So let's just say you're buying a $400,000 house and you're putting down 20%. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's 80 grand. Well, at some point, you've got to put the 80,000 into the deal. So one way you can make it more likely to get your offer accepted is if you put more of it down sooner in the earnest money. Instead of doing 1%, like Scott says, 4,000, maybe you put 10, 20, 50. Again, there's risk, but if you're a really solid buyer, it also shows that you're legit, that you have a much greater chance of closing.
That's right. And go ahead, Steve.
I was just a question related to loans. If you have a home listed at 500,
let's take that on air. We'll take that one on air. Here we go. Final segment of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hey, it's March Madness time. March Madness. Maybe we should have real estate madness.
We are in real estate.
Real estate madness. March Madness is, of course, college basketball, men's and women's, and the fun games. Was talking to Mike Dubbs. Just a lot of fun watching some of these Cinderella stories. St. Peter's, out in New Jersey, and it is madness in the real estate market as well. It's kind of been madness for maybe the past 2 years. Especially if you are a buyer, a seller, or an agent in the market. Steve, before we go I know you've got a comment on a thought. I did want to feature, there was one other listing, Linda Hipp on our team. Linda Hipp with Remax Advantage Plus and the Minnesota Real Estate team. She's got one, Scott, that's out in Minnetrista, 4620 Foxglove Drive in Minnetrista. It's a 2019 built Rambler, 3-bed, 2-bath. 1,938 finished square feet for $525,000. And she says this Hans Hagen M&I Homes executive home has it all. It's a custom built Rambler. It's got loads of upgrades, all with the convenience of one level living, gourmet kitchen with a 9-foot center island, the upgraded appliances, including an induction cooktop and double oven. Living room features stone fireplace. You love that, Scott, with a wraparound mantle, custom built-ins. And there is LVP flooring throughout the main living space, fully finished garage with a tandem stall for a third car or extra storage. Woodland Cove community includes a clubhouse and fabulous pool with trails overlooking Lake Minnetonka, perfect for hosting those gatherings. 5 1/4 for a 2019 Rattler in Minnetonka. Wow.
That's nice.
4620 Foxglove Drive. Check that out.
Yeah, that sounds like a great property and great price.
Steve, during the break, we were talking about a few things, talking earnest money. You had a thought, a comment, question?
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go in. If a new home buyer, they need to consider an ARM and earnest money and what can be applied toward down payment. But if the home lists at 500 and they pay 550 and it appraises at 500, the bank's only give them 500.
That's right.
So they got to come up with the 50 plus their 20% down,
Right.
100.
That's right. Well, and that's you're exactly right. That's where the appraisal gap comes in. So people are.
That's a problem.
It is a problem, and I will put this out there for agents that are listening, and for people that are writing. Bottom line is, in that scenario, if it comes in $50,000 light, the buyer's not eating $50,000, and so then, well, the question is, well, wait a minute, if they're under contract and they did 100% appraisal gap coverage. Well, that's true, but I've been doing this long enough to know that if anybody does not want to lose their earnest money, because it always comes down to the seller's going to go, okay, I'm going to sue him for the earnest money. Really, you're going to tie your house up for 6 months to go after earnest money when your house just sold in a day and a half with 30 offers, or are you just going to put it back on the market and resell it? And that's typically what ends up happening.
One thing Scott always says over the years, once the buyer or the seller in a purchase agreement loses goodwill, all bets are off.
That's right.
So it's not as easy as just, oh, hey, we're going to get that money and move on. Scott, we had a question. Reed texted and he said, hey, I just got my 2023 Hennepin County tax assessment. My home's value went up 18% in Plymouth,
Wow.
$362,000 to $427K.
Wow.
A coworker also in Plymouth said his went up 20%, as well as a few of his neighbors. This seems pretty high. I was going to call the assessor and ask what the deal was. Yeah, what is the deal, right? Does this seem right? Maybe you covered this already. I missed a little bit of the show. Hey, thanks for listening, Reed. Thanks for the text.
It is absolutely right. I actually had 3 clients of mine call this last week with that same question. 36% over the last 2 years is what it's gone up. So pretty consistent through all the outer ring suburbs, actually even a little bit worse in some areas of Minneapolis. And so the question then is, well, can I fight it? You can, but it would have to be extremely different. It's on a sliding scale. So it's not an actual exact number. Hey, my home's only worth $1 million. I'm being taxed at $1,150,000. You're not going to be able to get that adjusted because it's floated through the years. There was a time where it was the reversal. You were being taxed at far less than what your home was worth. And so it does have to be a big discrepancy.
So it's hard, believe me, very hard as a kind of a small landlord in the Twin Cities. I have some rental property. I'm also seeing that same thing, kind of significant jump with values. And it is hard. I mean, it's hard to swallow. You definitely, like Scott said, can try to dispute it. Have your agent. We'd be happy to do it. Take a look at some comparable sales for you to do a very good market analysis to be able to support that number when you're talking to the county. On the one hand, though, it is, I would say, and again, I know I'm always kind of spinning things positive, but it's a sign you got equity. We've done this radio show for many years where people had no equity. In fact, they had negative equity. It was nothing but short sales, and our phone lines, we'd have like 15 of them ringing every day saying, I owe more than my home is worth. So we have to remember rising tax values are an indicator. You got a lot more equity in your home than you may think. Again, you've got to live somewhere, but your balance sheet is getting much healthier by owning property.
That's right. That's right.
That's my deep thoughts there. Steve.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Trust me. It is a much better place right now to be worried about your tax bill going up 18% versus you owe $400,000 and your home's only worth 200.
Yeah.
Because that was what it was back in 2000.
It was just so common.
Everybody. It was, and we used to get calls on the show all the time. Well, I don't want to sell now because I don't want to lose my equity. And we'd say, well, you don't have any equity. Equity is the difference between your home's worth and what you owe. But people would always say that,
Right.
I don't want to lose my equity. I'm like, well, there's no equity.
There's no equity. Kind of the phantom equity. It is, yeah, it's interesting. It's and I know part of the reason why, people say, why is there no inventory? There's a lot of different reasons out there. But again, just remember, if you've thought about moving, you can add that to your purchase agreement that says it's contingent on you finding a home. So, it allows you to get your home on the market, to get an offer accepted. That allows you to write an offer, what we call non-contingent, on the other property. And so there's ways to do it. There's ways to navigate this market. If you're thinking about moving, don't give up hope. There are deals happening. I mean, as horrible as everybody makes the real estate market sound, again, as a team, we team Minnesota Real Estate, we're still closing a lot of deals. A lot of things are happening. It's not like there's nothing happening in the Twin Cities real estate market.
Yeah, and the only caution I would give you on that thought, just as a logistics thing, is there's two ways you're non-contingent. You're non-contingent without having to have your property closed.
Yeah.
And then you're non-contingent contingent on the successful closing of your property. So it's not contingent on the sale of your property because it's already sold, but it's contingent on the successful closing of it. And again, in a competitive real estate market, that's one little chink in the armor that can be there. But to Ryan's point, a lot of people just don't have a choice. I mean, you've got to go that option.
Steve Grown, Standard Water, before I forget, best way for people to connect with your outstanding longtime firm here in the Twin Cities.
Go to our website, standardwire.com, or shoot an email in, service@standardwire. You ever send emails in? It's like you wait and wonder.
Yes.
That's not us. We are on it.
I love it.
Yeah. Email is fantastic. Anyone can connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Steve Grohn, GROHN. So you can connect with me that way. And yeah, welcome all phone calls, all emails.
Great employer as well, as he mentioned. He's looking for some folks. Wonderful employer. Reach out to Steve. Nice job on the show there, young man.
Thank you. I'm not sure I'm a young man, but I'll take it.
Scott, good job, buddy.
Yeah, you too.
You got any fun plans there?
A little work today and a little work tomorrow. It's kind of the nature of the beast.
It is the nature of the beast. A little work for us all keeps us going. Hey, I did want to give a nice shout out today to our friends down in New Prague, the Goggins family. Bob Goggins was a longtime, very close family friend, was a law partner of my dad's for a long time. Bob passed away this week. Our condolences to the whole Goggins family. Wonderful Irish wake and funeral. So we're thinking of Bob, just a wonderful guy, a wonderful family down in New Prague. And so we're sending our love to the Goggins family. Appreciate everybody tuning in to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We'll be back next Saturday at 10 a.m. Have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in on social media. It was a fun weekend, fun shows. Steve, good work.
Thank you. It was fun.
Well done, Scott. Nice job, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate everybody tuning in.
We'll be back next Saturday. If you ever have questions, comments, thoughts, topics you'd like us to discuss, don't hesitate to let us know. We're happy to do that. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. Take care.